So there's areas of the brain. So you start out with, just learning letters and letter sounds, and then you go into those sounds to make words. And then you go from the words to the meaning of the words, right? And so when you're reading, you don't want to have to stop every second to decode a word, to figure it out, to pronounce the word, right? So the brain rewires itself and it's called a letterbox. And so that's automaticity. That's where you want to, the words that once you read them, that you automatically know them for the next time you read. So that now you don't have to stop and decode, you just read the word. So we want those words in the letterbox, that mapping so that they understand what the word is when they read it the next time. And so now, why is that important? It's important for fluency, right? Most of our kids have trouble with fluency because they're stopping to decode every single word and they're using more of their brain space to decode instead of using brain space to comprehend. And so, what we want is more words in the letterbox. What's important about the letterbox is it's not found in non readers.
Mm.
Through imaging, you only see it in readers. So, what does that mean? It means that reading literally changes the brain.
How? I love how you're also in a infinite game of reading advocacy because it's not a finite game where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get here and check it off, perfect, I'm done. It's more like it's an infinite game of getting people to read more, to literally transform their brains,
Mhm,
which is so important.
mhm,
If you if you were to have one sentence
mhm,
to show the power of reading,
mhm.
uh, what would it be?
Every child that enters kindergarten enters with a resume, and that resume will dictate whether reading is going to be a challenge or not.
Mm, that's a great one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm like, hold on, let's get out of here, guys. Let's walk on. Dr. Blanton, like, did it again. I have one last question, and this is just out of curiosity because everything evolves. We evolved from being the caves painting. That's one of the forms of communication that we wanted to imprint. Um, and obviously, reading is going to, well, I don't know with certainty because we don't know the future, but I'm pretty sure it will evolve.
Mhm.
What will you think reading will evolve in the future for us?
Um, I think we're going to, uh, although I love book the paper part, love to go through. My middle son, he likes to smell the pages. He's still, I love underlining and writing in the columns, but I think that's going to be history. I think technology, our books are going to be in a form of technology. Um, the ebooks, I think that is the future as far as reading is concerned. And I think, unfortunately, I think we're going to get to the point where students are going to continue to enter college without having read a whole book.
Mhm.
So that is problematic because of technology, because of texting. It's quick. Everything is quick, so they don't have time to sit through and read a book from front to back. They want the cliff notes. That's it. They just want, give me step one, give me step two, get bulleted for me. I don't even want narrative. Just give me a bullet. Um, but I think that's where we're going. I think that we can get to a point where 90% of our citizens are readers. I don't think that that's too far of a goal. But if the government, if our legislators, if our systems don't come together to make sure that that happen and outline a pathway forward for that, it's not going to happen.
Mhm.
And when I say the systems, I mean the health system, I mean labor, I mean criminal justice. All of those systems contribute to the development of a child. And if all of those systems don't come together and say the goal is 90% reading proficiency, and then this is what we have to do, that doesn't happen, then that 90% is not going to it's not going to be it's not going to be reached, right? So I think futuristically gone up are the paper parts of the book. And I think that it will be digitized, and it has this that has good and bad in it, because again, we want the interaction with the books. We want to talk about the front of the book, the back of the book, the spine of the book, the way it feels. What do you think the book is about just by looking at the color? You want to talk about the capital letters, the end, the punctuation mark. What do you think? Why is it in exclamation point or question mark? What do you think the author meant by that? You want to have those types of discussions, and it reading it electronically, it's very different than reading the paper book. So,
You know what's so funny? I used to use Spark Notes and Cliff Notes all the time. I wish I was so. I wish I didn't do that back then. I wish I respected my reading self and my development of reading. But I read those paragraphs.
He's like, I'm good.
So read your books, guys. Spark Notes and Cliff Notes, they're good, but they're not as good as reading.
Dr. Blanton has a good point because like there's like the storytelling. Imagine if like you don't go through the drama of the storytelling that develops the story. It's like, yeah, she dies. Like
yeah.
it's like you're like, what the hell? What's the point of that? Story development?
Quick homework done.
Yeah.
But I really do wish I respected my reading when I was younger. So if you guys are young out there, reading, just like literally like, read your book, have fun with it, and use Spark Notes as a assist,
Yes.
not as the homework tool, like I did. But still, you guys did great out there.
I don't think that it was so much of a change. We've always had a reading problem. There's always been a reading problem, right? COVID did not unveil this great big reading problem. COVID unveiled the access and accessibility, right? That woke us up. Well, we've always had a problem in this country with reading, going back to anti-literacy laws. So I just want to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that our brains were not wired to read. We have to teach it to read, right? It does this great thing, right? It rewires itself, right, to form pathways for reading to develop. A lot of people don't understand that. It's very different than language. Language, you can put a child in a room full of people who are speaking and they will speak. You don't have to teach them how to talk, right? That is not going to happen for reading. You cannot sit someone in a room full of people who are reading, whether they're reading out loud or silently. It's not going to happen. You have to teach it to read, right? That starts very early. What we think is reading starts in kindergarten, and then we build these habits in kindergarten. And if we think that, we're 5 years already behind, right? Reading starts really at the moment of conception. How? Well, all of the stuff that mom eats, all of the environmental pressures and stress impacts the developing brain. Reading is all about the brain. The brain is the main character, right? And so if we understand that, then we have a point of reference. And so how do we build stamina, right? Because in order to learn to read and read well, you have to build stamina. I'm like, this is a race, right? Not for the quick athlete, but it's endurance. And it took us years, decades to get here. My book has only been out since August. It's not going to take months for us to get out. And so people have to come to the point where I came to and say, okay, I reflected, now I see, and now I'm going to do better. When you know better, you do better.